Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, where it literally is the first thing in the morning. And Happy New Year to everyone in our global family around the world. It's wonderful to be here with you, even though it's like 12:50 a.m. in the morning. But I love staying up New Year's so that all over the globe we can get together and wish each other a Happy New Year. So I thought that this year, as a first go to, because at the beginning of the year, we all begin to think about, well, just before the year, when we're in that end of the year, when we're in that time zone of, it's actually like the Bermuda time zone where Australia virtually disappears off the map and we don't know what day it is or what the date is or anything. But we do manage in that time to begin to think, what am I going to do to take care of myself a bit better this year? So this year, I'd really love for you to be able to think about, or to even have the tools, shall we say, to know what it's going to take to help you be effective, just even one more step with your self-care this year, okay? With complex trauma, there's so many aspects to it that we can't just dive in and take all of the 6 aspects that are on the screen at the moment and go, right, I'm going to do all of these. One of the main reasons is that our brain will just go triggered, literally, like in the brain, and this is new and I can't do all of this, and then we're going to shut down. And we don't want to do that, okay? We want to be able to say, okay, I have a goal this year that I want to be able to develop my morning routine, and I want to be able to remember to do my morning routine. And in order to do that, I'm going to write down what I want to achieve in the morning, okay? And then I'm going to look at one of these self-care essentials and say, right, this is what I can begin to implement in order that when it comes to my self-care this year, I can then go, right, I'm going to do that first. So let's just say, for example, that your self-care routine, you want to start in the morning and you go, okay, the first one here is consistency. So then the question has to become, where or how am I going to make consistency happen with the morning routine? And for some people, especially clients, it can be simple things like setting an alarm or making a note, and it's definitely pre-preparing the night before everything that they need so that when they get up, they don't have to think about anything. You actually begin to create an automatic routine of getting up and getting it done. So that's how I started in the beginning as well. I began to go, okay, I need for this morning routine to be consistent. So then, because dissociation, let's face it, it just absolutely sidelines everything if we wake up and we're dissociated. So then what I did was I said, okay, if I get everything ready the night before, then when I wake up, even if I'm dissociated, I'm going to know what are the steps that I want to create for that morning routine. Now, that was really successful and remains successful to this day. It's just I'm on the next step of trying to make sure I remember to do it every night. But I do get to do it because what I remind myself of is, what is my habit that feels good every morning now? In the beginning, it doesn't feel good creating a new habit because our brain fights us every step of the way, like literally every step of the way, because this is new. I'm creating something new that's impacting me internally as well. So then we say, okay, I know that this is hard. So when I sit on my bed each night, I begin to imagine and feel what it's like to get up and achieve my one goal. Now, I don't mind if your one goal is to get up in the morning and go and make a coffee, and you do that every day. That's consistency, okay? If it's the one thing that you know that you're prepared for, you've got your cup out, you've got the coffee in the cup if needed, whatever it is for you to successfully get up and get out of bed and grab that coffee and go back and sit and drink it, that is developing a consistency that the brain begins to go, okay, I'm safe now. I can get up and do this. And then over time, what happens, even if we're dissociated, is we can get up and go, right, I need to do this routine because having this structure in my day actually helps me feel good. I didn't know when I first started doing this that the structure in the day helped me feel good, because back then it was, I wasn't in my body. And as Dr. Bessel van der Kolk will tell you, one of the hardest things we ever do is get back in our body, and I can absolutely attest to the fact that that is very true. So now that I can say, right, what do I need to do to start my day tomorrow? So I put out anything that I need, whether it's work clothes, exercise clothes, make sure I've got my vitamins prepared, everything, so that I know I get up. I actually do get up and go and feed the cat, do the cat's toilet, take my vitamins, start exercising, or get ready for work, either one. And that feels good because it was done often enough and the brain doesn't get triggered anymore doing something different, okay? Now, we are going to need to be willing, as one counsellor said to me many years ago when I said, I can't do that. And it could very well have been about saying no to somebody, because let's face it, boundaries are really hard, okay, especially in the beginning. So what we want to be able to do, especially when we're a mum, okay, we know that the minute we start to put a routine into place, the kids are going to go, oh, I need to get up early and I need to go and cuddle with mum. Or for me, somebody messages me from overseas first thing in the morning and I get distracted. ADHD break. Get distracted. Oh, I'll dress that first. Then I'll go and do the morning routine. And by the time I'm finished, it's lunchtime and I totally forgot that I was going to do the morning routine. So it's essential for us to have these boundaries in place where we're able to say, okay, I need to learn to say no. And it's not even just saying no to other people. It's saying no to our own brain that wants to go off and, follow the glimmer around and sparkle and, oh yeah, I'll just do that. So another thing I've started to do now to help me have those boundaries is I have on my desktop a little clock, a little digital clock. That was an app I downloaded for free. And I say to myself, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes. And because it's there in front of me and ticking away, I know that the minute I go off what I'm doing and start to go down one of those rabbit holes, I know that it's actually happening. So that's helped me have more boundaries as well. The boundaries with kids comes in when we have to teach our kids that this is mum's time, dad's time, parent time, carer time. This is the time that I need to get ready for my day. Now, if that means that they get a book and they sit beside you and they learn, okay, so think of the age, and they learn how to sit quietly, then that's okay too, all right? It's everything that we do, they will learn, and everything that they learn sets them up to have a healthier brain throughout life as well. So I don't want you to ever think that one interruption means we throw out the whole bundle of trying to do this. It comes back to step one, which is the consistency again of, okay, it didn't work this morning how I wanted it to, so I need to sit down and think about how I can make a boundary for me in that space so that I know that I'm going to be able to be consistent, okay? So you begin to see now how they build on each other, and it's like, oh, wow, thankfully, for me, when I started doing this, it was like, oh, this is a relief. So one of the things that I used to do with my kids now at the age of around, let's say 10 to 13, median range for the three of them, was I said, okay, you want to go on your game toy, whatever it was at the time, in the morning, but this is what has to happen first. You have to have your breakfast, you have to brush your teeth, you have to make your bed, get dressed, you have to have your homework packed in your bag. Everything has to be ready to go, and walk out the door at a specific time. Now, with my kids being on the spectrum, for some of that, it was teaching them time through different activities that happen in the morning, and that's okay too. We all are the most amazing parents because we all have the ability to know our children and know what will work, okay? That happened recently with my granddaughter as well. Her beautiful mum, who's doing the most amazing job, is going to have her in daycare a little bit next year. So I said to her, okay, then she needs to have a routine, but I say, otherwise it'll be really hard for you. But then I let it go. It's none of my business. And what Chloe did was, it was just amazing to watch how she kept Rose up longer and longer. So an hour extra each day, because Rose would be up all night. Anyhow, I won't go down that rabbit hole. So what happened is now she's turned a whole sleeping pattern around. Now, I would never have thought of that in a million gazillion years to do that, but it was brilliant. Rose literally has had her whole sleep program turned around because Chloe, being her mum, could see what was needed, okay? So we, as their parent, intrinsically know if we've had, go and have a sleep first, you might need a nap, what you can do to take just one next step to be able to help our children learn what's healthy for them, and also so that we as parents don't end up burnt out, especially when we've got kids with extra needs. It's a full-on job. So, which ties in nicely to our next one, which is self-compassion. Now, I know when I first heard of self-compassion and the image that it conjured up in my imagination was like, but I have compassion for those around me. How do I have that for myself? And if there's one thing I hate, it's when people say, well, how would you treat a friend? Well, it's different when we've got complex trauma, because we actually have the added process of getting back into our body. So it's like, well, what is compassion actually going to feel like internally for me? However, what we can do along the road to self-compassion is have patience. And I can tell you now, with every bit of sincere honesty, patience has been something I am still learning. I'm better at, but I'm still learning. So sometimes with self-compassion, we need to take time out and really think about being very gentle with ourselves and listening to the self-talk that's happening and beginning to turn that self-talk around. That's a whole other chat show. But I just want to give you some ideas so that you can go, okay, in the morning, little Freddie and Sue are driving me absolutely nuts. They get up and they run around wild and I haven't had time to breathe, okay? So what do I know as their parent will work to help them to be calm first thing in the morning and be able to sit still until I'm ready to get breakfast if they're at that age, okay? Now, it may take you some time to help them get used to just sitting still, reading a book, playing a toy quietly. But as their parent, we're the one that teaches them how to do that. So we can do it gently. We can do it where we're frustrated and simply say, look, I'm really sorry. I am frustrated. I'm trying to get enough sleep. And children know, okay? These beautiful little babies know just by looking in our eyes exactly what's happening for us. And all they want is connection, okay? So it's that connection. And even if you're sitting there, room on the floor with your notebook and you know, okay, this is what I want to do first thing in the morning. Or maybe you've got to the stage like me where you were getting up and getting ready for the day. And then when little ones were around, I'd say, okay, let's do this together. So everything, basically everything throughout their life that I taught them, one of the basic things was, we're in this together, let's do this together. So if they needed something and I had to cook dinner or I had to fold the laundry, then we would get in and do it together. Now, if they're little, that means grabbing a wooden spoon and a Tupperware bowl out of the cupboard and saying, okay, you cook, you do that. Now, if we need to learn to slow our whole internal system down so that we can do that with a bit of peace inside ourselves, knowing that it really doesn't matter if dinner's 10 minutes late, because we're connected even when they're standing beside me. So for example, my granddaughter does this now. She'll come in to my office. I'm working away, but I have those little people, and I don't think I have any on my desk. Anyhow, Fisher Price little people, and she comes and plays on the side of my desk, and we interact like that, and then she'll go and do something else. She brings other little people back, and we interact and connect. So for us, when we've got complex trauma, when we're thinking about doing these things initially, it can feel too overwhelming, like, how am I going to manage a young child and change? And it's about going, I literally have to slow the inside of myself down. I literally have to learn to just breathe and slow down and go, I can do the two things, and I can have boundaries. I can have consistency, and we can learn to make it fun. Having a support system is something that's touted a lot right across the internet. However, if you've got complex trauma, you're at home, you're bedridden, if you're like me, like I was, lost all my language, the ability to talk, then how do you get a support system? Don't worry, we have the answer. We have the most kind, caring, compassionate Facebook group across the world. It's a peer support group. Everybody enjoys being there and enjoys being supportive and understanding and caring and kind. Now, the reason why it's there is for when we have lost everything. And we do. There are times in our life with our recovery journey, with interpersonal relationships, when we don't know why the relationship keeps going south or why we keep choosing a particular type of person. We often lose all the people that were in our life. It happened to me twice, so I can imagine it's happened to you at least once. And oftentimes people lose it more. So you are able to go into this Facebook group, and even though the greatest fear on earth is speaking up, for us it is, we can go into this group and speak and know that we are safe. Now, being safe isn't necessarily about our physical environment, which is what we can picture. Being safe is about being connected, okay? So we can go in there and connect and share stories and so much more. So wherever this live video goes, I will actually put the Facebook group there for you, so you can duck in, have a look, and see that you can actually connect with people who care, okay? And we're all from all over the world. And that, for me, was my support system when I couldn't talk, okay? When I had to learn and relearn my vocabulary all over again, okay? Now, mindfulness is something that if you can do it, that's okay. If you can't, just put it right aside for one moment. Mindfulness for us isn't necessarily about going into a meditative state. Mindfulness for us is beginning to develop an internal awareness around what is actually happening for us internally, be it emotions, mental, spiritual, physical, the whole, our health. Which reminds me of a story from last year, which was just an hour or so ago. Our health, I couldn't believe how much, since I've been doing the recovery journey and healing the brain, I couldn't believe how many health things came out that I hadn't ever been able to quantify before. So one example was 1 year I spent like 5 months on antibiotics just because I was in so much sinus pain. But this year, the doctor actually identified what was happening for me was fibromyalgia. And then because I had that language, I was then able to begin having that self-awareness of what's happening internally for me in that area. So that's what we're looking at, is developing that internal self-awareness. So now I'm in this great fibromyalgia group, which someone always posts when it's going to rain. And it's like, oh, thank you. Because if they do that, I know how to manage the pain that comes when it rains. And it's so much easier. And ever since then, not one single sinus infection, not one. So when we don't have language for what's happening for us internally, it's like our survivor brain just numbs everything out. Pardon me. Now, I want you to be aware that when you get on social media and they say, you're numbing, no, you're not, okay? You may have things that you're intentionally numbing out in the here and now, but more often than not, when you're in survivor brain, the brain numbs everything out for you. And this is what makes it so hard to understand. How can I have complex trauma yet everything seems to be okay? Because when we're in survival brain and it's numbing everything, then how do we know what's happening internally unless we know that this is what survivor brain is doing? Okay, so it's important that we walk this recovery journey, and it's important that we develop self-awareness internally in each given area so that as we grow, we heal as well. Okay, I've kept you a long time. I'm so sorry. I just really wanted you to have a good start to the year and to know that there is help. There are people who care, and you can jump into the Facebook group, and for sure there will be people there who welcome you that have hearts of gold, and you don't ever have to do this journey alone. That's one of my key things. I don't want you ever to feel that you have to do this alone. Thank you for all the follows and the care and the comments. They are sincerely appreciated, and we do try and keep up with everything. And this year we'll see the culmination in the certification, which I've just received. The first lot of official, I always forget the language that they use, but basically making it official that the continuing education credits are viable or real or authentic. That's the word, authentic, when you try to think at 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so that's all happening. I now have my eldest son Joshua on board in the business, and he has been doing the most incredible job with the Thriver Library, and we now have everything except the courses done and up to date, and everything has a PDF file and a zip file. So for all the coaches, mental health professionals, counsellors, psychologists, psychiatrists, they can go in there, and you too can grab homework and then either download the PDF or the zip file if you just want to use 1 or 2 pages. And the courses that are in there are just about finished as well. And then the exciting news is we're going to have a whole lot of uploads happen that I've been waiting to do. And I had to wait to do them for you because on the back end, we now have the ability to email people that are in there when all the new things get uploaded, which usually is each week, with books that I design for the clients as well. So please feel welcome to reach out in the group and know that you are loved and you are needed here, and I will continue to see you throughout the year. Bye for now.